Welcome everybody to today's CTC webinar. Today we're going to be continuing our site design series. This is part 3. In part 1, we did some existing conditions and some labeling. And in part 2, we did just some rough grading. So today we're going to pick up where we left off. My name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Products Manager here at CTC Software. If you have any questions while we're going along, please enter them into the question panel if you're watching live, and we'll get to those during the broadcast if we can. Otherwise, we'll certainly get to them when we're through here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always ask questions there and we can respond to that. So with that, let's get started here. So this series of webinars will show some of the ways we can save time using CTC CIM Project Suite. They'll help us with our workflow and make for quicker drawing updates when things change. And we're going to take this site from start to finish in this series. So today we're going to be focusing, as I said, on our project suite. It's one of our CIM suite of tools. We'll also have a manager suite, but the project suite is more intended for everyday Civil 3D users creating design and production drawings. And it will work back to the last 4 versions of Civil 3D, currently to version 2020. It is now March of 2024, and we expect AutoCAD Civil 3D 2025 to be out very soon, and in which case we will no longer support version 2020. So I recommend that you upgrade to at least 2021 to use our tools. So what are our CIM project suite of tools? As you can see, that's our ribbon up there. We have survey tools, pipe tools, grading tools, corridor tools. We have our general tools with our most popular tool, Label Genie, which saves a lot of time labeling. We also have Clash Seeker in there, which will help check for interferences much more efficiently than you can do with Civil 3D. And then our Data Wizard helps us with legends and tables, quantity takeoffs, and then our sheet generator will help the final product to create our sheets for our production set. And so we built this into Civil 3D specifically for consistency and familiarity. We use all AutoCAD and Civil 3D styles. So there's no mystery there, and nothing is proprietary, so everything that's created can be shared. And so we can also save a lot of time during the design and production process. We can create templates from most of our tools to maintain consistency and avoid surprises at the end, which helps new team members. They can pretty much plug and go, and the easy interface flattens the learning curve. So with that, let's get started. Hopefully we'll be able to get to it all today. Okay, so here's our drawing that we started with. Previously, we showed our existing conditions where we did some tree counts and clear and grub area removal, some plat labeling here. And then we have the site plat where we use Label Genie to finish up the plat here and label everything. So now we're down to grading and creating our land development site, and this will be phase 1 of this site, which is this neighborhood right here. Consists of a 5-block area to be graded in. So last time we graded in these roads from the right-of-way, we took our surface, we created our profiles. From there, we extracted feature lines, which we then used to grade this using AutoGrader. So if you saw that last one, you know where we're at. If you didn't, you can sure go back and take a look at what we did to get here. But a brief rundown is we created these stick template kind of things here to do our grading. And we're going to be using AutoGrader again today to grade out these lots right here. So we simply made these different templates here, which I then saved out for future use. If you're doing this consistently, you should be able to plug and go, as I mentioned before. So today we're going to, as I said, we're going to grade in these lots here. So we brought in the plat, and we now have our lot lines. We know where our houses are going to go, and so we need to do our grading pads and our grading up to that. So a couple of the things I did to set up here today was I created feature lines. And that one is missing. No problem, I have that on another drawing if you bear with me for a second here. I cleaned that up to show you, and I must have accidentally deleted it, so just let me copy that. Back to my demo drawing here. Okay, maybe it's frozen. All right. Let's see if it's there. So I see it's there. Let me do a little trick here. Hang on a second. Okay, I do see it there. I don't know where that thing, there it is. Okay, somehow it got froze. All right, sorry about that. So let's move on. So we're going to grade these. So I created these feature lines, and I hope I didn't mess that up by copying over the top. But that looks okay. So I created my feature lines right there to go off of, and that's how AutoGrader works. Let's open up AutoGrader. Let me close that for a sec. I think I have too many windows open here. Okay, let's try it again. Not sure what that error was. Hopefully it won't affect anything. But anyway, so let's move on. So what we want to do today is we want to grade all of these, as I said, these blocks. And we're going to add those to the surface. There's a pond going in down here. And I created some templates here. So for those of you that haven't seen AutoGrader before, let's show you a little bit how AutoGrader is laid out here. So here we have our options. It's the same as this tab right here. This is where we set our path for our templates. So you typically want to put those probably on a network somewhere you can get at them, where you can share them with everybody. Then we have our defaults where we want everything to go. Our layering, where our feature lines go when they get created, and so on. So if you don't know what license you have, you can click here. If you don't know what version you're on, you can click right here. We're currently at 24.5. And then support, and we can get at our videos right here, and here's our user guide. And our video will be up for this webinar in a few days. So let me close that and pan this over so we can see when I have both windows open. Okay, so let's start with block 1 in a logical manner here. So as I said, this has been laid out. We have our lot lines. Our plat is in the background. Pulled in the lot lines for us to go off of to grade these. If you bear with me for just another second, I'm going to do a quick audit on this drawing. Make sure that it should only take a couple of seconds. Make sure we don't have anything bad going on here. I don't know what's causing that error. I don't think it's going to affect how it works. It says something was erased. That could have been my feature line. I think that's what it's telling me right here. Something's going on, but I don't think it should affect us. So let's start with block 1. So I made all of these templates ahead of time. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put in our lot lines right here. So let's put in our lot lines. So to do that, all I did was I created this template here of how our lot lines should work. And this is going to be typical across the entire site for these are slab on grade sites right here. And then we have our full basement walkouts back here. So to build this template, we know that we have 88-foot deep lots right there. So we want to go up the first 9 to the front house of all of these. They're all going to be 9 feet off of the front lot right here. And so we want to go up at 2%, and then we're going to grade our side lots back down at 2%, and then we're going to go the rest of the way at 4% out. Then I'm going to create a parallel line back there. So what that's going to do is it's going to create me another feature line back here that I can then use to grade to my existing surface back here. So some of the setup we need to have right here for it is first we need our front feature line, which is our block 1, and I could have picked that in a number of different ways. I did it by layer. I separated all these front lots out by different layers, except for this one over here. Block 5 is multi. I'll show you that in a second here. But I could have picked it this way, which we're going to do when we do block 5. So with that, we picked, and then come along, we do how we want them created. So we could do this 2 ways. We could grade new, which we're going to do, or we could grade existing. So I could pick these lot lines also. And I showed here that these are 55. I think, let me say okay here and save and close here. So these are all at 55. It's 4 lots at 55 and 1 at 55 or 51.67. So I'm going to do them by station. So 0 to 55, and then the last one, I think it goes this way. But if it doesn't, we can correct that later. So with block 1, we're ready to create it. Again, let me open the station up. So I'm going to increment from 51.67. So apparently there's one right there, and I added 0 in there. So just to show you how this works, let me clear this out. Just to show you how this works. So if I delete those out, then I tell it to increment from 51.67. So I think that's this one. So I'm just going to highlight this, and then I'm going to tell it to add them. So it's going to go 51.67 all the way. If I say okay here, it says it's only going to get 6, but I need 7. So let's just run it real quick, and I'll show you what I mean by what's happening there. So I close that and click the run button here. And then what it's going to do is it's going to create all of our lot lines. Through here, it's going to turn feature lines into our lot lines. If I said create grade existing and I pick these, I would lose these lines back here, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So here's our lot lines. They added them to the surface, as I said to do here, to the surface. But I didn't get this one here. And there is a radius here, but we don't really care for grading. So I'm going to add that one. So to add that one, all I have to do is come in here, and I can select this pick button right here. And if I pick the end of this line, and I hit enter, now it came in at 0. I could have also entered that if I wanted to. If I hit the plus here, I could have entered that. So I say okay right there, and now I can rerun it. This is the beauty of AutoGrader. If anything changes, if we change any grade on here, we just have to rerun it. And all these lines are being added to the site as well. So here we saw our grading change right there. So let me show you how we did that. So after I set up my family, I come in here and I tell it I want to go to this surface. Tell it the type of brake line I want to choose. In this case, I went with the standard. I want it before non-AutoGrader. So if there's any other brake lines here, we want those to rule. And then I click these of what I want to add. So since I clicked this parent line, it's now added this feature line to the site and the surface, which it wasn't previously. So now that that one's done, save and close, and in the interest of time, I have done them all, I think, except for one. So to do that, all I did was I just copied. So we click here, and then we can say copy right here, and being that it's the same, all I have to do is make a few changes to what I'm selecting for my feature lines. Let me cancel that so I can pan to the block 1 area, or block 2 area, I'm sorry. So now we're going to do this one, and we're going to do it the same way the same thing. So block 2, lots. So I click that. I'm going to check my stations just in case. So this is going the same at stations, going to create those lot lines at the stations. I'm going to double check this. I'm going to clear that just to be sure because I messed with that one. So let me grab that again. Make sure we got the right one. And if I ever wonder where I'm at here with it, I can click this search button right here and you see it highlighted there in the background. So everything else being the same, I can save and close and just hit the run button. So here's something that's missing. Let's check that. All right, we'll show you. Let's create a new one from it then. Not going to use, oh, no, that's right. Lots. Let's do this. Let's copy here. Let me copy this one. So I'm going to delete that one. And let's rerun. Let's redo this. So this will be the block 2. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to grab that line again. Say OK. And now my stationing. Let's go from 0. Do it at 55. Add all those. Okay, it's going to create 5 lines. I think that's to the left. I can check which way that line is drawing. So my stationing is based on the feature line. So if I just pick right there, for instance, I see that it runs 0 the other way. So let me change that back to 0, and that wouldn't matter. I'm just going to say full range anyway. So it's going to go this way. So that is to the left. I'm going to save and close. Whoops, I need to do one more thing. Take you through this too, the formatting, how all this works. So this is the setup I showed from the first page, and I'm going to give these the name of block 1. Oh, I take it back. That is block 2, isn't it? Block 2. So that's all the same. Lots black, back. Everything's good. Save and close. Let's run it. So that was where I was getting that error. I must have deleted something after I did this. Cleaned it up to show you how it would work from scratch. So now they're in there. And I want this up. I want these in a logical order. So since I made that, I can just push it up. Right there. So I have my block 1, pads, block 2 lines, pads, block 3, and so on. So let's close that and see what we got for the surface to make sure that that graded in there correctly. It doesn't look like it picked up that feature line back there. Let's try it again. Run that block 2. There, it picked it up. Must have been something I deleted there. So I know I want to match right here at this elevation for this wetland area back here. So now we have that graded out. Let's grade the rest of these lots out. So let's do this block 3. Yeah, we'll have time. We'll do these one at a time because we have time. So it's going to be 5 is going to be a little different. So we have block 3. Should be ready to go. Let me just verify, check everything looks good. My formatting, again, everything looks good. And let's just check how our surface is going to go before everything is coming good. So to save and close there, and then I will tell this one to run as well. So like I said, these are all slab on grade here. So pretty simple stuff. There created our surface. So now our surface is made from front to back. And now we can add our pads. And close that just so we can see what we're doing. A couple different methods for adding our pads. So with that, we need a template drawing, and they're nothing more than feature lines that load in the manner that we want them to load. So I have these slab on grade ones, which are all 0, flat. Then we have our full basement walkouts, and these feature lines start flat. They come down to the lower level right there. So they're called templates, but they're really just feature lines that we're going to load into our drawing. So let's go ahead and open that up. I'll show you where that magic happens. In fact, hang on a second. Let me close that and get you where we can see. We'll do block 2 first. We'll do this little area right here first. Slide it over here. And we'll go to put those pads in. So we're going to do the block 2 pads. So that's this one right here. Now I'm getting that error again. I think because I deleted all that out of there prior to the webinar here. So let me do this. Let me delete that. I did save these out. So let me delete that and then I'll bring them in. So if I needed to load, if I had these loaded, if this was a reusable thing, this is where I would get at those. So I have my block 2 pad right there. So I'm going to open that and load it, and then I'm going to slide it back up in order. Block 2. And that isn't the deal. Huh. Well, let's try the block 1 pads. And they opened. So we'll have to remake those block 2 ones. So let me cancel that. Close so we can see the block 1 area. And maybe we just won't do that one because they're all the same. So let's do the block 1 pads then. Let me open that up and show you how this comes together. So for my object, I need to go get my feature line right there. So I pick it and it gives me the name of my feature line. And then the insertion point, the base point, I could do it any number of ways. It's simply where this is going to go in relation to our parent feature line. This point is the exact center. This point is the midpoint. I'm going to tell it to grab it at the midpoint right there, and this has no bearing on where the thing lands, but our rotation is crucial and our side is crucial. So then we have to pick our feature line. Oops, I'm not going to do it that way for this one. So that's our intersections. For this one, I'm going to do it this way. And let me show you how we came about that. Actually, we'll do that when we redo the other one, the block 2 ones. So we'll cover that then. So here's some of our formatting for it. Again, make sure everything is coming in the right layer, the right site. And then I'm going to double check this. I was hoping to just really breeze through this with my templates, but obviously I deleted something. So everything should be ready to go. Let me save and close and close. Let me just check one of these feature lines. Make sure we're getting the right thing. Okay. So to do that, I just came through here and I picked the midpoint. And then I told it where it starts right here, because this is the oddball one. As I noted right here, 4 at 55 and 1 at 51.67. So I picked the midpoint and then I just went with my stationing every 55 from there. So that's where that first station number comes in. It's the midpoint between here. If it was 55, I could just type, half of 55, 27.5, I think. But I used the AutoCAD commands to pick it. So it should be ready to run. So let's run it and see what happens. Everything is set up, ready to go. It's going to the surface. It's going to first find the template, and then it is going to start to plunk them in. You can see them starting to come in at the stationing that I gave it. So now our house pads went in there and everything came in there just so. So let me close that and let's do this block 1, or block 2, I'm sorry. Just since we have to do that basically from scratch. Here you'll see how we build these. So let me open AutoGrader back up. And I'm going to copy that one that worked for block 1, like we did with the other. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to open it up. And I'll show you what I meant by feature line intersections for this one. So I know I have to change my feature line. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to grab this feature. I'm going to grab this feature line right there. Tells me the name, so I know I'm in the right area. Have the same thing. Just to be sure, I'm going to double check this base point. It should be fine. But I want to make sure I get it. So my feature line intersections. I could pick these right here. So I could do it by layer, but I've now created all of these over here. So I'm going to get too many. So here I'll have to pick them individually. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick and tell it to go between these feature lines. So I tell it to go in between those feature lines. Tells me I grab the 4. And I'm going to tell it to go, here's where I set it. I'm going to tell it to go at the midpoint of my feature line intersections. So it's going to find the midpoint and it's going to put those in there. So everything else being the same, it's going to create 4 pads. I believe this should be left though. Let me just double check real quick. So yeah, it should be left. We change that, change this to the left side. Save and close. Let me rename this. And save and close. I'm going to delete that one that's bad right there. And I'm going to push this one back up. Oops, too far. Now we can hit run. Let me slide this over a little bit and we'll watch them come in since it's nice and small. So again, doing the same thing it did before. And if I had all these set up, or if something changed minorly, I could hit the run all button as well, and it would take care of everything all at once. So here's, in this case, it grabbed another line right here and dropped a template in right there and graded to it. Whoops. And graded to it. So they're just feature lines within the surface. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to show you what happens. And I can just delete that off of there. And I have my surface set to automatic rebuild. So it rebuilt it. It fixed it up. It changed all that. So now we can run the same thing up here on 3. Let me first note how I came about these feature lines. So what I did was I took, when we did this last week, we gave a boulevard right here. And that was at 2% up for boulevard and or sidewalk area, whatever. So I just ran AutoGrader again using that temp lots one at the distance to there. So I could use that as my feature line grade, did some minor editing to get that in there. So it's 4% up from there to there, which I'll show you in a second here. So I made this lot front temp. So I've used this for all of them. Just a little trick to get a quick feature line off our feature line. So even though our feature line was created using AutoGrader, we can still pick it and use it. So that's just a little tip kind of trick for you out there. Saves for a lot of manual feature line placement. So let me close that and zoom back to this block 3 area so we can see this one. And it's really just the same, very repetitive, same thing over. So we'll just do that again. Hopefully that one didn't get ruined. And it didn't, but let me double check just to be sure. So 3, line 3, it's going to drop 8 lots in there. I did this again by station, and in this case, they're all 55, so I could tell it from start at 0, and then set this at 55. I'll delete that out of there again to show you. Once again, to show you how I did that. So I highlight that and tell it to go. And this is if I was going to do multiples at once. They would line up here and I could do them all and gave them different increments if I wanted to. So a couple of different ways to tackle that right there. So since that's ready to go, we'll save and close. Should all be to the correct side. If it isn't, we'll just rerun it. So let me run it again. Well, it goes there and finds what it needs to find and create our surface. This is taking a little bit longer because of being on the webcast. Something like this would not take as long if you weren't doing this screen share thing. But still pretty quick. And two, then if you have a nice, as block 3 there is, very cookie cutter things go really quickly. You could do a whole development if everything is the same. Right there, this is a special case. To show where did they go. I saw the surface go. Okay. Says it went. Station's there. Lock 3, front. Did I have the wrong template picked? Let me try again. I thought I saw them go. Double check that. Oh, it's our lot lines we're doing. I accidentally did lot lines. That's what I did. So our lot lines were already in there. We wanted to put our templates in. I'm sure you noticed that and you thought, hey, what? We already did that. Why is he doing that again? So we're good to go. I'm just gonna click run right here. I did expect that to take a little bit longer than it did, because with the lot pads, it's doing a little bit more. And I hope I got those to the right side, the correct side. Thought I saw a flash. That's why I saw a flash before. It was doing the lot lines. Oh, see, wrong side. That's okay. Here's the beauty again of AutoGrader. I just flip the side and tell it to go again. So it will delete that out of there. So the feature lines get removed from the surface and they'll get flip-flopped to the correct side. So there you see it dropped them in. It took the other ones out, created the surface, save and close, and we're good right there. So now we'll get to our full basement. Walk out once. I'm going to trust that these are ready to go, and I'm just going to hit run to get us where actually I better not, because I want to show you the different grading that we did for that. So for this, we went again at our 9 to our house front. We sloped up at 2% and then negative 2% to the back of the house pad, and then, or the lot side, and then down at where the basement begins, and then down at a 4:1 right here. And these can be entered either as a ratio of 4:1 or 25%. And then I'm going to flatten out at 4% for the last 9 feet to the lot line, so that all adds up. As a matter of fact, we didn't do the lots there yet, so I'm going to save and close, and let's do the, oh, that is the lot lines. Okay. So let me hit run, and we'll create the lot lines here, and we'll watch the surface get adjusted here. And then the corresponding lot pads will drop in there next. Okay, we see that they went in there. Save and close on that one. Let's run the lots here. So that was lots 1 through 7 and 8 through 11 here. It's the same template configuration, but being that it jogged out, we have to run those separately. And I told that to make a lot line there, but I should probably take that one off. Let's see what it does. Because I could just remove that, and I think it went 0 that way. So I should rerun that to take that off of there. But I guess it's not that bad. Yeah, let me do that. So we have time here to show you how we can do this. So I'm going to go back to my stationing right here, and I believe that's 0. So I'm going to take just that one off of there. I'm going to say okay. Then I'm going to rerun it. So that should take that lot line off of there, and then this other one will take control, and I'll get a better contouring for the back of that. And I think our lot pads would have taken care of that too, but this is just as easy for our rough grading before we put our pads on there. So that's a little better grading looking right there. So let's run those pads. Again, so full. I don't see my pads. I think I saved those. I guess I wanted to build those from scratch, but we're running low on time. So I do have that right there. I'm going to open that up. Open that, push it up. And then let's run it. Trust that it's correct. And then we'll build these out from scratch from a copy of this one to get that grading in there. So I was hoping to get to this block 4 up here too. I think we still can in the hour that we had. Whoa, that's not good. Let me take that off of there. That had the wrong stuff. That's what you get when you don't check, right? Or did they just went to the wrong side? Let me cancel that. They went to the wrong side. So in this case, they should be the right. Hit run. That's what happened. Thought I had the wrong feature line grabbed. So we'll just rerun it like we did before. Flip-flop how easy this can be to get this in there. And once we get it in here, then if we need to do any fine manipulation, we can. If we need to change anything, maybe some drainage between these houses, we can also do that straight up with the feature lines or create the template, edit the template a little bit. So let's make a copy off of that one. Copy that one because I like the way that looked. We'll call this lots 8 through 11. And I think the only thing I should have to change is what my feature line selection is. And this is what I mentioned before. If I had done it by layer like we did with the other ones, it would have found this one too, and we don't want that. So I can do that individually right there, but I'm going to just double check my stationing right here to make sure I'm going on the right side. So it's actually going up, so that's to the right, so that's fine. Should go to the right. Everything else should be. Let's say, oh, I got to do my stationing. Oops. So I want to do it by station again. 55, I think they're all straight up 55s. So I'm going to start at 0. And I'm going to add those in. I think I have to do that half. Hang on a second. So this, I want to start. Let me delete those off of there. And this is kind of the iterative process you might have to go through. Come on, type today. 27.5. I'm going to start from station 27.5 and then every 55. It's asking me to highlight where I want to put those in. So right there, I'm going to delete that one out of there. Say okay. Hopefully I did that right. I should go through this setting right here too to show you what else we're doing here with those house pads. I forgot to mention that before. I see that I think that's a little different distance for those right there. It is for these here. No biggie, I can fix that later, but let me show you these settings right here. So how it's creating that slope for the front of this house pad to come in here is it's coming from the parent feature line station. So it's sloping from this line up to here. We have some other settings here. The high point of the adjacent feature lines or the low point of the adjacent feature lines. So I could have also said that and it would have found the high point right here and graded to that point to put them in. So that's part of how if you needed to make some adjustments later to those pads, you could change how that works. And I accidentally hit run instead of cancel, but luckily there was just a few lots. So let me save and close out of that. And let's go to the block 4. Since we have a little more time left to get to that, kind of do that from scratch. Am I still open with my auto grader? It's rebuilding my surface. Okay. So we can see this is really taking shape right here. And again, to make these feature lines, I want to show you this too. I use that right here. We don't have a sidewalk for these. So after I created my feature line, or the road right here, I pump those out to where they match with the lines. And I don't need those feature lines in my brake line set anymore. So I can get those out of there by simply, I could delete them. There's 2 ways I could delete them, or I could rerun it again. I guess so because the surface is taking a little bit more time, I'm just going to delete those out of there. So I don't need those anymore. So I can just erase that one and that one. Now my surface updates and all my driveways should be in a good location right there. But let's do these lot lines here because it's a little different how these go. So we're going to do this block 4 right here. We'll push that one up. So to do that, we want to do these by station. Again, they're all oddball stations. So I'm going to just come in here and I'm just going to pick the first one, end it right there. And then let me turn my snap on real quick here. And we'll go to this other endpoint. And this other endpoint, and this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, I hit enter. It tells me where they're going. So they're all at different stations along that line. And then one other thing we want to do with this one is the back. I'm going to lengthen this out because these are little deeper lots. I'm going to change that to just say 80. And I don't know what I can't see what that depth is. I know it's more than our typical ones. And it doesn't really matter for how I'm grading this. So I just want to tell it to go to this back polyline. So it will find that back polyline. I still want it to be at 4%. I want it to go to that back polyline. So then I just come here. I got to pick my target lines, what I want them to be. And it's that. My whole back line is a polyline right there. See, and they're all a little different depth-wise. So you couldn't really do it with anything concrete to get that done. And you could end them short, I suppose, if that's what you wanted to do. But we really want to grade right to the back of the lot. So let me just double check. Oops, not my station, my formatting. Make sure everything is still good. I'm getting my back lot line. I'm telling it to actually draw a feature line again back there. So okay, I'm going to double check how my surface is too. Everything. Yes, and I'm going to hit run again. So then after I take care of that, I can do my pads the same way. I didn't put the house outlines up there. So targeting that back polyline, as I said, it's going to make my line all the way there. You see it went to the back. That didn't go at a perfect perpendicular, and that's okay. You can move it. Because they're kind of oddball, I can go ahead and drag these over to there. I'm not going to do it because that surface will update. We want to drop those lot pads in there. Show you how I did that. We're getting really close to the end of time here. So I'll just do a couple of lot pads. Did I save one? I don't know if I did. Let's see. Lots pads, I didn't. So let's just make one real quick. Pads will copy, because it's full basement walkout, we'll copy this one. Oops. Copy that. Jump in here. Let's go change that to block 4. And everything else being the same, full basement walkout. I have to get a different feature line, of course. I'm going to kill that. I'm just going to put one pad in here in the interest of time and show you how we do that. To get that in there, I'm going to say okay. And so where I want it to go, I'm going to tell it at station, and I'm just going to pick where I want that to go. And I want it to be the midpoint between these. So I just use simple AutoCAD commands right here. So I want that endpoint and that endpoint. And if I hit enter, it's going to give me the station number. In that case, it's a perfect number. So let me add another one. Just do 2 of these guys. I'm going to do it again here and here. Hit enter. So that's an oddball number. Say OK. And I'm just going to tell it to run. Oh, I'm doing the, gosh darn it, I copied the wrong thing. Ah, shoot. Well, you see what I was getting at. I was to place those pads, I just copied the wrong one. Save and close. So I'm getting over time. It got a little bit longer than I wanted it to. So let me go back to, let me just show you this drawing right here, what our end result really is. And that's what we get right there when we do that. So that's how they'll come in when you drop them using the methods I just showed you. So that's this right here. I'll just open that up to show you the same thing, how we did that feature line intersect, the stationing on there. So I, in fact, did pick in between all of those right there. And it created those. So with that, we'll wrap that up. I will clean this drawing up for the next presentation. And I will thank you for joining me today, us today. And in conclusion, it's part of our CTC CIM Project Suite. We're currently at version 24.5 with 25.0 to come out shortly after Civil 3D Autodesk releases 25.0. Like I mentioned before, we have our Manager Suite as well. If you don't have it and you want it, you can contact your local reseller. If they are not offering it, you can contact us here at ctcsoftware.com. We'd be glad to help you out. And as always, if you have any ideas or need help, contact us here at support. Our tools are built for you, mostly by you and your suggestions. So we'd like to hear all that, and feel free to contact us. So with that, thank you again for joining me today, and hope to see you at the next webinar.